I welcome everybody to this Sutta study program with the Dhamma Dharini here in California. And I'm very pleased to see an old friend from a long time ago. Greetings, Arthur. And a lot of our active current supporters and friends. This past few weeks, the contemplations about compassion and emptiness led us to the meditation with the elements, including the space element. So there was some kind of association between boundless infinite space and the boundless meditation of compassion, going in all directions without any limit. So then it is a kind of a natural evolution. Last week we were continuing to investigate the elements meditation. In particular, I had done a comparison of several suttas that had teachings about meditating on the earth element. And with that, we came to the Mahāhatthipadopama Sutta, the longer sutta on the elephant's footprint, which had such a amazing, inspiring, and rich description about the elements meditation in the context of the Four Noble Truths and the practice leading to liberation. Even though it's not exactly the sutta which is matching up for this season for the Songkran week, I couldn't stop thinking about the Mahāhatthipadopama Sutta all week long. And I'm prepared now to go back and review the sutta a little bit further on. Okay. This is the longer simile of the elephant's footprint. If you wish that you had a copy of the middle length discourses, you could find one in our library. Otherwise, you can just listen. So this sutta is famous for having sort of interlocking sets of different components of the Buddha's teaching, and managing in one sutta to have almost like a complete package. I'm going to sort of show you how the puzzle pieces link together first, and then we'll come back and read it. So he starts with the Four Noble Truths, and then within the Four Noble Truths, he brings out the Noble Truth of suffering. That's the first Noble Truth, and describes the first Noble Truth. And then within the first Noble Truth, he puts out the grasping aggregates, the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness, when they are taken up with grasping, as being the short summary of dukkha. And then within the 5 grasping aggregates, he picks out the first one, which is the aggregate of form. And then form then is associated with the earth element. And then within the investigation of the earth element, brings in dependent origination, seeing the earth element as being arisen because of conditions, and seeing not only is form impermanent and dependent, but also the other four aggregates, the four mental aggregates of feeling, perception, choices, and consciousness, all are impermanent. And so then, having made this leap, greetings, David, please come. Welcome to take a cushion or a chair, whatever is comfortable for you. Yes. Okay, I'll go ahead. So then, with this is kind of like a culmination of the elements, uh, uh, and the appreciating impermanence and and causation, seeing that these are all impermanent. Then it comes a very important sentence that's kind of like the middle, the high point of a sutta. Based on that element alone, the mind leaps forth, gains confidence, settles down, and becomes decided. Energy is roused up, unflagging. Mindfulness is established. The mind becomes immersed in samadhi. And then you'll see this when I develop it more further. He jumps back to something which is extremely practical and important for students. It's like all of this wisdom you gained. Do you still lose your temper or not? So if somebody is destabilized when under pressure, then they can gain urgency. But if their mind stays stable, they can be happy. And so then that whole sequence from investigating about the element, developing these wisdom factors around this element, and going through the cycle of like testing oneself, whether you've gained a deep and stable kind of equanimity from this contemplation, such that you can face different kinds of stress and duress without being disturbed. So that same thing is done with each one of the four elements. Then in another twist, this is like a teacher who's able to cover the whole syllabus in one class. He brings in the space element. Then and then makes the link. And this is kind of unique, actually. This is a question. I had this question for many years. I always saw on the list, okay, meditate on the five aggregates. And the sutras would say different things about what was useful and beneficial about meditating about the five aggregates. And then they would say meditate on the six senses. And the sutras would give almost the same identical list, like why it's useful and beneficial to meditate on the six senses. And so I was kind of like, okay, so which one is the one that I should practice with? When is it right to relate to aggregates, and when is it right to relate to senses? And what's the difference between these two lists? I've asked different teachers, like, why is it sometimes this list and sometimes that list, without actually receiving satisfactory answers. But Venerable Sariputta here, he gives the answer. So he talks about the way how the six senses work with the base, which is either a faculty or like a capacity or else like a physical base for the sense. I'm pointing to the eyeball here. So the eye faculty to corresponding visible object, which is also called a rupa. So the visible rupa and the rupa, the form within the five aggregates, are the same word, and how they it's developed, like how the experience that comes to be with the presence of those two things, and attention and consciousness, causes the form to be produced because of awareness through the moment of contact with the six senses. So, and not only that, but each feeling as happening because of a triple conjunction of a phenomenon, the corresponding consciousness and the contact, and so each one of the grasping aggregates is continuously being produced by some kind of an encounter that's happening based on the six senses. So that's the integration between them. Then we have the sentence that is unique in all of the Pali suttas. One who sees dependent origination sees the Dhamma. One who sees Dhamma sees dependent origination. The five grasping aggregates are indeed dependently originated. We've just seen, like he's just given an exposition about how the conditions came together for any one of those aggregates to exist. And so then they're dependently originated, and like a good teacher, circling back to the summary, the desire, clinging, attraction, and attachment to these five grasping aggregates is the origin of suffering. Giving up and getting rid of desire and greed for these aggregates is the cessation of suffering. And the same thing for, this is in the case of the eye, the ear, the nose, tongue, body, mind. So that's the outline, that's the interlocking. I don't know if it's a rebus or a puzzle or some kind of a twisty thing that you could try to, twist and twist and twist it, and then it comes out right, and all the colors are lining up. So this is the analytical power of Sariputta. But as we read through this a little bit more, you're going to see his imagination, his kindness, his way of humanizing the Dhamma, or making the Dhamma memorable, so that, like a good teacher, you get these unforgettable similes along the way that help to lock this wisdom into place. So, first part of this sutta will be I'm just going to, just so you know, I've got the chat open, and if you get a question as I'm going along, if you put something in the chat, then when I am able to, then I can stop and we can have a bit of discussion. The Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove. He addressed the mendicants, and he said, the footprints of all creatures that walk can fit inside the elephant's footprint. So an elephant's footprint is said to be the biggest of them all. In the same way, all skillful qualities are included in the Four Noble Truths. The kusala Dhamma is the word translated as skillful qualities. And then what for? Dukkha, the suffering, the origin of suffering, dukkha samudaya, cessation of suffering, dukkha nirodha, and the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering, dukkha nirodha gamini patipada. Okay, then within that, then he opens up about suffering. What is suffering? Rebirth is suffering, old age is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress are suffering. Not getting what you wish for is suffering. In brief, the 5 aggregates are suffering. And you may know that there's another sutta, which is also a discourse by Venerable Sariputta that gives, it's called the Satya Vibhanga Sutta, the analysis of the truth. And that gives a full and a vivid detail about each one of these things. So, like for old age, they said it's like, the hair gets gray and it falls out, and the skin gets all wrinkled, and the teeth are bad, and the body is crooked, and all these descriptions like that are very kind of like reality based about the different unpleasant aspects of life cycle. And coming to the 5 aggregates, then said, what are the 5 aggregates? And it gives that definition. So far, it's really kind of like a textbook, just going through the list. Rupa is form. Upadana means grasping or taking. So I'm going to take a little water now. So what we take of form, and then khandha means the aggregate. So form, feeling, perception, choices, consciousness. Sankhara is the word that is translated here as choices. It has a wider meaning of all kinds of mental fabrications or mental constructions. This has been a kind of like a theme for me recently, because I've started to notice very vividly how people create different stories, and how actually we need to create stories in order to be organized, but how stories can be not necessarily true, and even not necessarily beneficial. And even how in the different ways that people get into debates and conflicts, how they go to war with each other. They say that they're having like a battle about views and opinions, but in a certain kind of way, it's like dueling stories. So it's kind of like we've got a story that my kind of people is good, and we've been victimized, and we're all these other things, and then those other ones who are made to be like almost not human. There's like enemies. They get a completely different story that emphasizes their inhumane, horrible aspects, and they're the ones who kill the babies and go marching down the road with babies on their pikes of their bayonets. That's what they said in World War I about the other side. And ignorant people, got a flyer like with a drawing of this representing that this is what the other side was doing. And so then the stories got to be accumulated as a propaganda, so that they come to be shared by a group of people. And then a story which is shared by a group of people becomes a social reality. And so there can be good stories. But stories take a lot of care. But that's part of what a sankhara is the stories we tell, as well as the intentions that we form, as well as a lot of what the mind is doing as far as perception and knowledge is. Like we don't really experience reality. The mind fabricates an image, and we experience the image. So that's another sankhara. And then vijnana, upadana, khandha, that's the knowing faculty. Okay, so far we're still into sort of like standard lists. Okay, then what is the aspect, the grasping aggregate of form? Okay, now he's choosing to form could be understood just as materiality or as like the physical body that we occupy. But he takes it to the four principal states, and the form derived from the four principal states. And the four principal states are the elements of earth, water, fire, and air. So these are qualities. So anything which is material will share in all of these qualities to a later, greater, or smaller extent. So then the earth element of, we built a stupa out of sand for the Songkran, and we needed to water the sand so the stupa would stick together. So the earth element needed to be mixed up with some water element in order for it to keep its shape. So they all have these combination of qualities to a later or greater extent. Then, even further, the earth element can be interior or exterior, and the interior is whatever pertains to an individual inside this body that's hard, solid, and appropriated. This word translated as appropriated is upadina. And Bhikkhu Bodhi suggests that the meaning of upadina that applies here is that it's something that a person identifies with, or that they cling to, or they take up in some way as being part of their self-identity. Others, Bhante Sujato emphasizes that in the earlier Vedic and Brahmanical traditions, upadina is a technical term for that when you got born, you took on a body. So the Gandhaba or whatever it is that's previous to the conception of a human being. In that case, the Gandhama gets together with the egg, and there's the right conditions for an individual to be created. And then when that person comes to be a fetus, they're starting the process of taking on, having head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinews, bones, bone marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, and all of the things that we have as part of our body are things that we took on board when we bought the ticket in order to be on the good ship of human existence. So that's the interior earth element. And then he doesn't go in much to the exterior earth element, but interior earth element are both, should be seen rightly. And this is the meditation we've been doing a lot. You go inside, outside, outside, inside, and both together until the sense that the earthiness of inside your body and the earthiness of things outside is just the earthiness. And you can see it, not mine, not, I am not this. This is not myself. So, not mine is addressing greed. I am not this is addressing identity view. Let's say I believe, like I believe in my feelings. If you insult my feelings, you insult me. And I'm going to take a stand. I have a right to my feelings because my feelings are essential to me, or my form, my physical form, my race, my gender, everything is essential to me, and I believe this is me. So that's that kind of identification, and then this is not myself is kind of described as relating to conceit, which is the more subtler form of identification, where the mind experiences all that phenomenon going around, and somewhere or other there's something in the center which is receiving all those experiences, and that thing in the center gets projected up as being a self. So when you see with right understanding, when you see it's not me, not mine, not myself, it's merely elements, then you become disillusioned with the earth element. Detach the mind from the earth element. Here comes a time when the exterior water element flares up. At that time, the exterior earth element vanishes. That would be a catastrophic earthquake or a catastrophic eruption. I think they're having them in Greenland now. So they're getting a lot of, like, the molten lava is coming out, and they got to evacuate the towns, and the whole landscape is being changed and shaken. So even then, this exterior earth element vanishes. So for all its great age, the earth element is revealed as impermanent, liable to end, vanish, and perish. What then of this ephemeral body? Tanha upadina, which was appropriated by craving. I think this does seem to relate to birth, doesn't it? So because of craving, that baby got born and took a hold of this getting a human body. But it's much less substantial than a mountain. Seeing, then they don't consider it as mine, or as I am. They consider it to be none of those things. So you get this unforgettable image of the environmental catastrophe, which is destroying the material world that we depend on. Our happy home is being caused to disappear, and all of the trauma and dislocation, disorientation of that. And then this is another kind of a turn. It becomes none of these things. I'm going to just come to the end of this, and then we'll stop for a discussion. Then they think, if others abuse, attack, harass, and trouble that mendicant, they understand this painful feeling born of ear contact has arisen in me. It's dependent, not independent. Dependent on what? On contact. So because of contact of some vibrations of noise with the ear element, then a person has a painful feeling. But just viewing it in terms of being interested in this process of causation and seeing it as being impersonal, not me, not mine, not myself, then they simply see it. Likewise, they see not only the contact, but also subsequent to the contact, there comes to be feelings, perceptions, volitional choices, consciousness, all following one after another through causation. All of them impermanent. So seeing that impermanence, now we come to another, this is the powerful line, this is when the, I don't know what the music should come up, because suddenly we've realized this whole sequence falling from the form element, from the earth element. Based on that element alone, the mind leaps forth, gains confidence, settles down, and becomes decided. My energy shall be roused up. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I know there's some questions. There's a question about grasping of the negative of the emotions. Anything at all can be grasped, if it's positive or it's negative. If it's positive, it's grasped in another way, and if it's negative, it's grasped in a different way. Which is more enticing to the mind? If there's something that's lovely and beautiful, do you find that the mind is so obsessed with constantly thinking about it and you can't stop thinking about it because it's taken over and obsessed the mind? Or then if there's something that's horrible and hateful, does that also take over the mind and create an obsession that you can't stop thinking about it? Well, probably both, in different ways. And Richard has commented that this Mahāhatthipadopama, which is translated here as the principal states, can also be Maha meaning great, and Abhuta, falsehood or deceiver. So those four states, materiality of the earth element, the water element, the air element, and the fire element, are also creating the base for an illusion. Let me go just a little bit further, and then I'm going to stop again for more discussion. So you've seen the element as an element. You've seen how the experience with that element is coming up all through the senses to some extent, and how the aggregates are also getting pulled in with each one of those contacts. Then, based on that element alone, the mind leaps forth, gains confidence, settles down, and becomes decided. In this case, as a sideline, I'll say that what he translated as based on that element alone is in Pali Dhatu Aramana, and most of the other translators, including Bhikkhu Bodhi, take aramana as being an object of meditation, which is a concept that emerges in the commentarial period, but is not really a concept in the earlier level. And so I found some very persuasive and good reasons why the aramana can be considered as the base, the support, the footing. And you can see in the previous era of the text, of the Vedic, Sanskrit Vedic text, many cases of aramana being a support or a place, or even like a physical support for another thing. So if you fall into the ocean and you can't find any footing or any place, anything to take a hold of, or if you want to get a cup of water and you can't find the handle to get a hold of it, then you haven't got the aramana for it. And also many examples in the Pali text as well, where aramana has that meaning of a basis or a support. So we go with that. So once the mind has gotten confident, settled down, become decided, others might treat that mendicant with disliking, loathing, detestation, striking them with fists, stones, sticks, and swords. They understand the body is such that sticks, stones, fists, stones, sticks, and swords strike it. But the Buddha said in the advice on the simile of the saw, even if low-down bandits were to sever you limb from limb with a two-handled saw, anyone who had a malevolent thought on that account would not be following my instructions. My energy shall be roused up and unflagging, my mindfulness established and lucid, my body tranquil and undisturbed, and my mind immersed in samadhi. Gladly now, let the fist, stones, sticks, and swords strike this body. And I know that there's a certain conversation that we've had before. The Buddha is not advising us to be idiots and to just walk into a war zone in front of all of the incoming fire and just stand there and let the bullets strike us. But instead, this is not a situation that we seek out for, that we're looking for, but it's something that could arise. Just the same thing, we're not looking for. We don't want to look to have droughts and floods and natural disasters. We're not intentionally behaving in such a way to bring the world into ever-increasing rate of natural disasters, I don't think. So we don't look for those things, but when they happen, then it's a chance for testing the stability of the mind. So while recollecting the Buddha, the Dhamma, Sangha, is the equanimity based on the skillful. Either is or is not established. If it's not established, they stir up the sense of urgency. Oh, my loss, my misfortune. It's not yet stabilized. Like a daughter-in-law who stirs up a sense of urgency when they see their father-in-law. I don't know if this still happens anymore. When your parents come, do you run around the house and tidy up, top clean the house when the folks are coming to visit? That's what that's referring to. Uh, uh, but if, while recollecting the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, equanimity based on the skillful does become stabilized in them, they're happy with that. At this point, much has been done by that mendicant. So there's a question in the chat about contact. The moment of contact is just about the first opportunity we have to experience something and to know that something is present. So if there's no contact, there's nothing to be known. I suppose one could know that contact is not there. But a good practice of mindfulness is to kind of experiment and see how quickly one is able to notice the contacts that come along. If you're just looking at like the contact of sensations touching the skin in a sit of meditation, as your mind becomes very sensitized, you may feel like every minute, like there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different moments of contact and touching that can be experienced. Or else, if there's something contacts the mind, one practice that I find really helpful is that each time the mind moves from one thing to another thing, so if the mind is like on the breath, and then it moved to the laundry, thinking of the laundry list, and then it moved from the laundry list back to being on the breath. Okay, so something happened. What happened there? There was some contact that created a disturbance in the mind, and then the mind slipped from one thing over to another thing. And if you are attempting to see how quickly you could notice, then even just at the moment when you can become aware, you can almost sort of look backwards and feel like what kind of like a reverberation is like happening in the body that like is conditioning that contact. And so the sooner you can see it, if something unwholesome is arising, like say there's a contact that's predictive to hatred, you've got the habit of hatred, underlying tendency of hatred. And because you've always got, like a pocket full of ammo or a hand grenade in your pocket, and it's ready when you're provoked, it comes out. So if the sooner you can notice what's happening, the sooner you can set down, the sooner you can set it down before any harm is done. I'd like to invite any other comments about what we've read and listened to so far. How about these disasters, these cataclysmic environmental disasters and these cataclysmic social disasters of being thrown into conditions of conflict? Why does Sariputta put this in this teaching right now? Okay, I'll call on Mima.
Thank you, Aya. Your question right now, when you were speaking about the elements, as far as like what's happening, it's using the earth element, but sometimes it's internal where it feels like, there's explosions and the water rises with the emotions. And what I was thinking about, because I was on the sit this morning, is I noticed that when I speak about the Dhamma, I get emotional and I get not teary, but there's like the only thing I can think of, there's passion. And I feel like the energy rises. And so I'm doing it right now. My voice accelerates, it goes higher. But I was wondering, I relate that to the air element, that it's rising, the energy, but then I try to figure out like what would quash that so that I'm able to become more aware of what to do with it when that happens. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And it's certainly true that all of these phenomena are flowing within us in our emotional states, which are being manifested both in the body and in perceptions and in the different mental states, are all kind of like wrapped up together when something emotional arises, or even if it's not like what you'd call an afflictive emotion, sometimes just because of conditions, the body and mind are really flooded with lots and lots and lots of energy, and like we don't even know what to do with that or how to tame it. This happened to me many, many years ago. I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and then I took a long meditation retreat. So I had been getting all of this physical exercise every day for 6 months, and then went to sit, and I just, the mind had so much energy, or the body had so much energy, and at the time I really didn't fully know what to do and how to manage it. But there is a way with different meditation techniques to, sort of call up the balancing factor. So if you've got like too much energy in meditation, if you learn what is like tranquilizing or concentrating, you can bring that in, focus on a calming kind of a subject. Whereas if you come and your mind is almost dull, or like really level, but in danger of like sort of like sinking into a torpor, that at that level, if you know how to stir the energy and make the energy come so that it can be balanced. So those are just factors that are there for us to use. They're not good or bad in themselves. They're all useful in the right proportion.
Yeah, that reminds me of like the earth element then, because it would counter the air because it would be grounding. I don't know. I think
Right.
I'm asking that. So I'm trying to see which element would quash it or maybe stabilize it, like you said, balance it out. So I'm thinking it would be the body, maybe not focusing so much on the breath at that time because it's air element. But if I use the body for earth,
Right.
maybe. Okay, so that opens it up for me to explore it a little bit more. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Okay. Uh, I'll call on Richard.
Thank you, Aya. I just wanted to point a couple of things out. One is that it says there comes a time when the water element is disturbed and the external earth element vanishes. That can be a big flood. Remember, the Ganges and all those big rivers used to flood, and some of those floods would be miles wide. Even today, like Pakistan is having a lot of problems like that the last several years. And so therefore the earth is no longer something you can depend on. You know what I mean? And your home, your village, your farm, your animal, everything gets, swept away, right? So like that. So we can just, see it right there and just a flood itself. And the other thing is that dependent on contact, then he sees that contact is impermanent, and that sensation, I prefer sensation of feeling, is impermanent. That perception is impermanent. That I like to call them made-togethers, sankharas, are impermanent, and then cognition is impermanent. And it says, and his mind, here Bhikkhu Bodhi says, and his mind, but it's really chittam. So, and his state of mind, having made a state, because his state of mind is this state that he's seeing all these things as impermanent. He's not being affected by what's happening to him. He's looking at everything philosophically. It's as its objective support, and it says enters into, I prefer penetrates. His mind sees the idea very clearly, okay? So he penetrates in and acquires confidence, steadiness, and decision. So because he can see his own mind is able to do this now, oh, I don't have to respond to this treatment or anything, the way a regular worldly person would respond to it. You know what I mean? I can free my mind and go to higher states of mind instead, right? And he sees that. He's able to do that by relying on the teaching of the Dharma, by the impermanence. It's all just impermanent, right? It's going to vanish, right? And I think that's why it starts out with that section before about the the water, becomes disturbed, and even the earth, disappears. So it's like an example, right? So this is all just going to vanish, and he becomes elevated and happy and everything instead of becoming despondent and unhappy by the maltreatment, he actually has the opposite effect, because he sees things so clearly. Anyways, that's just my point of view. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For what it's worth, Bhikkhu Bhante Sujato believes that the water element causing the earth to disappear is based on the ancient idea that the continent was floating on an underground sea of water. So that then in some kind of a cataclysm, that the disturbance underneath the earth would cause the earth to like collapse. So if something, or perhaps like as we're seeing, like with the sea level rising and the, Manhattan going underwater and Florida going down underwater, that's sort of like how the earth is disappearing. More so, the seasonal occasional floods, I think, is coming up very soon as the next thing coming in this sutra when we get to the water element. So I'll come back and we can continue. Okay, so what is the water element? So this entire sequence that we just went through, we should go through this entire sequence of practice, focusing on each one of the elements. So if you had time to take a long retreat, and then if you sort of memorized this, seeing, just looking at the element internally and externally, seeing our experience of that element depending on contact, and seeing that that contact is also impermanent, and the feeling, perception, choices, and consciousness also impermanent, seeing all of it is impermanent, and then just don't give up, stay with that meditation, stay with that element until, based on contemplation of that element, there's some kind of a rising of samadhi, which is described here as being the mind leaps forth, or the mind goes to that object, gains confidence, settles down, and becomes decided. And then looking at the moral result of this, about being able to withstand abuse, noticing that the energy, the dedication to the priority, stay mindful. Don't forget to be mindful. Don't lose the meditation just because somebody scolded you. Instead, that your dedication should be so strong that you can keep your lucid, tranquil state. And then when you see that what you've gained is given you that imperturbable quality to be able to withstand the difficulties, then you know you've completed that section, and then you may give yourself a blue ribbon and go on to the next element. So these are all the same. They're not fully spelled out, but the water element is associated with bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, and saliva, snot, synovial fluid, and urine, anything that's watery inside, and what is appropriate, what you took on when you got born. And then exterior element is water, and then the disaster is the exterior water element flares up, sweeps away the villages, towns, cities, countries, and regions. And then on the opposite side, the water in the ocean sinks down 100 leagues, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 700 leagues. There comes a time when the water in the ocean is only 7 palm trees deep, or 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or just 1 palm tree deep. And then it stands only 7 fathoms, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, only 1 fathom deep. It's only half a fathom, a waist deep, knee deep, or only ankle deep. There's not even enough water left in the great ocean to wet the tip of the toe. For all its great age, the water element is revealed as impermanent. That's a meditation for our time, isn't it? How much people are freaking out because of the climate disasters, and how much balance we need, so that doing the right thing on behalf of the climate, on behalf of nature, is not getting all tied up with anxiety and clinging, or being hateful towards other people because of opinions about that. And then the fire element internally is what makes you warm, what ages you, what heats you up when you're feverish, what makes the food get digested, or anything internally pertaining to an individual that's fire or fiery and appropriated. That's the water element. Then exterior is just fire. And then the metaphor for the fire is it flares up and burns the villages, towns, cities, countries, and regions until it reaches a green field, a roadside, a cliff's edge, a body of water, or cleared parkland where it's extinguished due to not being fed. And then there comes a time when they don't have any fire and they're looking for fire. They're taking just a chicken feather or a scrap of sinew as kindling. And they're searching here and searching there, trying to find some fire, but they can't find it. So the fire element is also impermanent, liable to end, vanish, and perish. And then the air element. Okay, air element is described internally. What is airy? What's air and what's airy? And appropriated, what we took up when we were born. The wind that goes up and down, the wind in the belly or the bowels, the wind that flows through the limbs. When the limbs are moving, that's thought of as a kind of a wind. The in-breath and the out-breath. So the air element is associated with movement and energy. And then the exterior air element, I think in ancient India or modern India, this must be a very heart-rending situation. In the last month of summer, they look for wind using a palm leaf or a fan, and even the grass in the edge of the thatched roof doesn't stir. So the wind has vanished and the air is perfectly still. And now he's going through the complete discussion that we read at the beginning, which could be repeated for each one of these elements. We have a unique paragraph here, or sentence. When we think about the space element, I think most of us think of looking up in the night sky and being able to see all that blackness reaching as far as the stars. And we think of space as being outer space, or we think of space as being emptiness. But here, he thinks of space as it's defined by being enclosed. When a space is enclosed by sticks, creepers, grass, and mud, it becomes known as building. In the same way, when a space is enclosed by bone, sinews, flesh, and skin, it becomes known as form. In terms of the six senses, now he's talking about how the six senses connect with the five aggregates. Even if the eye is intact internally, as long as the exterior sight doesn't come into range, there's no corresponding engagement and no manifestation of the corresponding type of consciousness. Or in another case, the eye is intact, the exterior sights do come into range, but still there's no corresponding engagement. So that could be that you're asleep, or you're distracted, or you're unconscious. So then, in that case, even though you've got an eye and a visible object, there's still no manifestation of the corresponding type of consciousness. But when you have, in this case, it's giving four things. You've got the eye internally, the exterior sights, the corresponding engagement, and the manifestation of the corresponding type of consciousness. And this produces form. Now, in this case, rupa is a visible object. So earlier when we were thinking about form, I think you were maybe thinking more like touch, like something you can touch and it's got a certain weight and then a certain dimension like that. But to make this bridge, she's tying to also the word rupa, which is a visible object that can be seen. The form is produced by this encounter, this engagement, the arising of this consciousness. That's how the form is produced. It's included in the grasping aggregate of form, and likewise the feeling, perception, choices, and consciousness, each included. So, like with each moment of seeing something, there's produced, the rupa, the visible object, is produced within our mental continuum, and right together with that, the feeling, perception, choices, and consciousness all are produced simultaneously. So within, each a moment of contact with the senses is how fast, like one mind moment or three mind moments or something like that. That is enough for there to be a contact. And even within that brief kind of contact, all of these aggregates are engaged with that experience. So you don't see an object completely distinct from having a feeling about that sight, or having a perception, or having an intention about it. And so then they understand this is how there comes to be inclusion, gathering together, joining together of these five grasping aggregates. The Buddha said, Sariputta said, but the Buddha said, one who sees dependent origination sees the Dhamma. One who sees the Dhamma sees dependent origination. So in this case, the Dhamma is referring to the teachings of the Buddha. However, In the Pali canon, we cannot find where the Buddha said it. So it could have been a private communication with Sariputta, and he never told Ananda about it, or something that got lost somewhere. But anyways, it's a very famous sentence that shows the significance and the importance and the value of contemplating dependent origination. If you wanted to understand the teaching of the Buddha, if you said, what's like one thing, if you just had time to learn one thing, what should you learn? Some people say, well, you should learn dependent origination. That's, if you can see causation, then you can see impermanence, you can see non-self, you can see dukkha, you can see all the Four Noble Truths. You can disabuse yourself of any kind of clinging to any kind of delusion about the self. And then this seeing, so these benefits, this is really a vipassana sutta, or sutta about wisdom. So then these 5 grasping aggregates are indeed dependently originated. Desire, clinging, attraction, attachment to this 5. Okay, now he's coming back to the summary. The desire, that's called chanda. The clinging, that's called alaya. One of our favorite teachers is called analayo. So analayo is the one who has freed himself from alayo. So alayo is attachment, like how the leaf is attached to the branch until it lets go and falls. Uh, uh, and then anunayo, as attachment to these aggregates, is the origin of suffering. Giving up, getting rid of the desire and greed. So desire and greed is called chanda raga. Chanda is desire, and then raga, sometimes translated as passion. We were talking about this a few days ago, and I think the idea that it's something which is inflamed, something which is on fire, something which is, got a fever. So it's like inflamed desire needs to be suppressed and gotten rid of. First, it needs to be chanda raga vinayo. Vinaya means restraint. So you need to find out how to restrain your inflamed desires. And it may take a bit of tough love to do that. But after you've become able to restrain those inflamed desires from taking over and obsessing the mind, then you will feel so capable, so strong, so competent, so comfortable, because you'll know that you're not going to be the victim of inflamed desires, that instead you know that you're the boss, and now you can say, I see you, and just say, okay, that's enough, everything, or else you say, oh, thank you for sharing, but I'm not going to follow what you're telling me right now. So then you got a lot of comfort just from knowing that you're capable to restrain them. And then the Chandaraga Pahanam, then you become able to let go, to give it up. And then that is the cessation of dukkha. And at that point, much has been done by that mendicant. Ditto for the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. That's what Sariputta said. Satisfied, the mendicants approved what Sariputta said. There's a question about this collection of suttas, and the email that I send around, if you're registered for the programs, you get the email, and I give the links each week when I send the email, or you can go to, if you Googled elephant's footprint, it probably would come up for you. Or if you Googled MN28, that would also make it come up for you. And the Sutta Central has gotten into the search engine, so you do find them there. Oh, and I have news for you. We have a visitor here who works for Wisdom Publications. So has anybody here ever signed up for something called the Wisdom Experience with Wisdom Publications? Um, uh, you may Google that, and you may sign up for a free membership in the Wisdom Experience. And then you may find the connected discourses, the numerical discourses, and the middle-length discourses, all translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi. And if you click the button to read them, beautiful rendition of Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation with the complete footnotes comes up for you. This is an expansion of the charitable offering that Wisdom has made to make these important texts to be freely available to the public. So for no charge, you can open them, and it's very beneficial. So that's another way to find this sutta. It's in the middle length discourses, and if you became part of the Wisdom Experience, you can read it there. Venerable Maharajana, I've forced you to sit there and look good this whole time by leaving you spotlighted. Would you like to add anything to our understanding about this sutta and what this sutta is good for?
It wasn't forceful. Although I apologize for blowing my nose, but I was muted. I just wanted to mention that we shouldn't be looking into the future for these things, although like when the oceans all dry up, like very far into the future, but there already rivers have dried up, and I mean our continents have been formed by cataclysms. We don't need to look very far. There's wars in the Middle East due to droughts and rivers and things drying up already. So we need to be more aware of not just a potential for climate change and global warming and the icebergs but right now this is impermanent. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Now, right now. That was what I had wanted to mention.
Thank you. Any other comments or reflections about this? Okay, I'll call on Richard again.
Thank you, Aya. Oops. Okay. The thing about fire, and the person comes with a cock's feather or some hide parings, that example is because those things are excellent kindling. They catch fire very easily. So the point is, he's saying that even with something that can catch fire, but you can't find any way to even light it on fire, like that. You know what I mean? It's not like some future time, when the earth is being destroyed or something, and there's no way to start a fire. It's just like, even right now, even with something really easy to catch fire, you may not be able to find something to get a spark going, to like catch it on fire. So in other words, fire is not dependable, just like these other things, they're not dependable. But I would like to ask a question. You said you had someone there from Wisdom Publications.
Yes.
Quite a number of years ago, because I buy my Bhikkhu Bodhi translations of Maurice Walsh from Wisdom Publications. And I had bought the, what do you call it? It's like the Kindle edition type thing, soft copy. I don't know what do you call it nowadays. And so I had bought it for the Majjhima Nikaya, and it came in 3 types: Kindle, something else, and a PDF. And the PDF at the bottom says acquired at wisdompubs.org. It's like a little shaded lettering at the bottom. And that's an excellent way when you're trying to do research on suttas. Say you want to see everywhere where Buddha mentions fire or something, right? You do a search on the PDF and you can find it, and then you can look in the Pali and whatever, and you can see what is going on there and stuff like that. And so after several years, as more and more publications were available, one day I thought, I should buy these PDFs for all the other ones. So I logged into Wisdom Publication and I bought that soft copy and everything. And then when they give you like a special code or something, I don't remember how it works, just a few years back. And I went in there, and the Kindle and the other one were there, but they no longer had the PDF, which is the only one I'm interested in, because Kindle and those other things don't allow you to do that kind of research. You know what I mean? So I actually wrote I think an email or something, or a notice on their board or something, asked them, why did you get rid of the PDF? And I explained I use it for research and everything, a very valuable tool. But nobody ever responded back to me, from Wisdom Publications. So anyway, so since you have someone there hostage,
Would you
I
like
just
to?
wanted to find out why they made the decision to get rid of the PDF.
Are you willing to say a word, say hello? And I don't know if you have anything to say about this or anything to say about the sutta. You'll have to speak to the microphone now. So if you're ready to, I come up and.
Hi, who am I speaking to?
This is Richard.
My name is Richard Corbill.
Hi, Richard. Nice to
Hello.
meet you. First of all, I want to apologize that you never received a response from a customer service. We did have a customer service representative for a window there who didn't work out, in part because he was moonlighting at like 4 other companies and was just trashing the customer service inquiries as soon as they came in to make it look like he had processed them and then taken care of them. So I apologize if that was the case. We do have a much better situation set up now. Our fellow Tenzin who takes care of it now. So and on the PDF side, I'm not sure if I have the official response on that, but I think it was in part because, once PDFs are out in the world, they have a tendency to just, spread, and once that and to disappear. As a,
I'm sorry, but your voice is breaking up. I don't know why all of a sudden.
yeah.
It's just,
No, I would just,
I think I got the gist of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You feel like people, but for a person like me, I've never shared my PDF with anybody because that would be stealing, and
Yeah.
I'm not about to start breaking the principles.
yeah.
So,
Well, it doesn't take.
if you could have a
doesn't take
special
many.
scholars program or something that someone could join and get access, or something like that, because it's an invaluable tool, really, for doing research and finding out, how Buddha is teaching various things in various ways.
Yeah.
Because
We can do it on a
really-
one-off thing. If you just write to me, I can set you up. So
yeah, because not all words appear in the glossary and stuff like that. So
Yeah. No, I
or
use the
even if
PDFs all
they
the time.
appear there, they may not have they may not have every single instance of the word. So it's
Yeah.
just really, anyway, but thank you. Sorry to take up everyone's time, but
Yeah.
I couldn't resist.
No, that's fine. You can just write me, dkittlestrom@wisdompubs.org. So,
All right. Thank you very much.
EL.
Can you spell it?
She's putting it into the chat.
Oh, good. I was gonna.
Yeah. Wisdompubs.org. So I think it's, yeah. That's it. Yeah. Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've had I think a fruitful conversation. Not quite as much conversation and discussion as I like to have. Maybe if you come back next week, I'll choose something on a similar theme that's kind of like short and filled with poetry and emotions or something, and then we can have a good, a bit more conversation, continuing to think about how much of a treasure the basic Dhamma is, and how helpful it is if you can, even in a discursive kind of way, learn about these lists and what they signify, and then as you practice, you can find that your lived experience in the practice is starting to reveal the potential significance and the power of these lists. I know that for myself, I spent quite a few years, like at least 7, maybe 10 years, very engaged in understanding the 5 khandhas. And I was learning in this really laborious kind of way that if I was caught up in some kind of negativity or the mind being obsessed and possessed about something, if I could see how that was manifesting into 5 khandhas, and then if I could disarm one of the 5 khandhas, then the whole machinery of the khandhas, like working together, are so powerful and unstoppable. But if you can throw sand in the gears and make one of them stop working, then the whole thing kind of can stop. So, like on the perception, like to just like me think, where is it really true? And then if I could see, oh, it's just a perception, then all of the other things become like not a problem. Or if the body is getting swept up with feelings or something, then if I know how to relax the body, like if you can change the body, then there's a much better chance you'll be able to change the mind. Because the mind and body are locked in together, and when you've got the body is all inflamed with that raga, and the inflammation of the body keeps the mind inflamed. So if you learn how to use body work to so that was my project for the longest time, and then now I don't really use those ways quite as much anymore, because I got a tip that if one is able to develop the insight about the impermanence, dukkha, and not self, then you can prevent the 5 khandhas from getting out of the cage in the first place. So that's that. But for you, like what I'm trying to say is, it's really valuable to learn the Dhamma, to read the suttas, ponder about it, think what it means to you, what it means, make it personal, invent your own system, and then later, like as time goes by, keep testing your own personal experience against the teachings of the Buddha as you can find them. And that's the way to really guarantee that we will go forward and we won't go backward. I'll give you one last comment and then we're going to really close. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, I forgot to mention it. Going back to that thing about he acquires confidence, steadiness, and decision. In
Yeah.
the Pali, there's a word, adimuchati. That kind of means like going towards a higher liberation. Muchati is like a liberation. Adi is like higher, right? So it's like his mind is going up. You know, it's developing. His
Right.
state of mind, chittam, is going up towards a higher liberation.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. We can close by giving respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Araham Samma Sambuddha Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakatu Bhagavata Dhammo Dhamman Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghan Namami.
Thank you, Aya.
Thank
I
you.
I
Aya.
learned a lot today, so just by listening to everything, and learned a